Ken James and Jason McKittrick, brought to you by CryptoCurium.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Learning Lovecraft. I'm your host, Jason McKittrick, and joining me as always, the traveler of the Eldritch Path, Mr. Ken James.
Hey, folks.
And tonight, we're covering Lovecraft's supernatural revenge tale?
I guess.
Ancient Greek style?
Yeah.
The Tree?
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get to that, we have another Transmissions from the Void. So, as we mentioned in the last episode, Brian Moore's Pickman's Model film adaptation Kickstarter is now live, and at the time of this recording, today is already past the halfway mark of being funded.
Ow!
So, yeah, congrats, guys. So, if you're in the position to help this film get funded, please do so. If you head on over to the Kickstarter website and search for Pickman's Model, you will find it. And yeah, it's looking good for you guys this time around.
If you got a couple extra shillings kicking around your boots.
Yeah, there's some cool. There's definitely some cool perks for helping fund it. You can get copies of the DVD when it comes out. You get some signed stuff, and if you just want to kick over like 10 grand, you could even be on the film. So so if you look through, they got some really cool perks.
Rumor has it for 100 grand you can direct.
I think Brian would be okay with that because I think that would fund the project completely.
Just kidding, folks. That was a little fun on my part there.
Right. So it's looking good for these guys this go around. So best of luck to Brian and the crew. And if you got some extra shekels on hand, why don't you toss it their way? Yeah.
Pop out your old penny loafers, pop the pennies out, send them over.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. So Ken, the Tree, right? All right. So first, it was written in 1920 and published in October of 1921 in the Tryout once again. And before we get into the story, it's we're given a little quote in Latin, "Fata viam invenient," which apparently means fate finds a way. So a little Jeff Goldblum, like
I was gonna say,
I
was gonna be like, little JP there.
Yeah, fate finds a way.
Yes, but without the oops. That was a different movie, sorry.
So we first start out and we get this quote.
On a verdant slope of Mount Myanolus, in Arcadia, there stands an olive grove about the ruins of a villa. Close by is a tomb once beautiful with as sublime as sculptures, but now fallen into as great decay as the house. At one end of that tomb, its curious roots displacing the time-stained blocks of Pentelic marble, grows an unnaturally large olive tree of oddly repellent shape. So like to some grotesque man or death, distorted body of a man, that the country folk fear to pass it at night when the moon shines. Faintly through the crooked boughs, Mount Myanolus is a chosen haunt of dreaded Pan, whose queer companions are many, and simple swains believe that the tree must have some hideous kinship to these weird Panaceae. But an old beekeeper who lives in the neighboring cottage told me a different story.
So right off, we get this, they set the scene for us. We got this really old tree that's kind of shaped like a man, kind of distorted body. I mean, that's coming out of this really old tomb, right? They have this story about, Pan is, said to haunt this area, him and his whole little crew.
Yeah,
and
squad. He's squad deep out there.
Yeah, whatever they're doing out there, they got the flute. They're probably drinking wine, doing their craziness.
Yeah.
But then right off the bat, the beekeeper next door is like, "Let me give you the real story."
Yeah, check this out. I've been around here for a while with these bees. we know what's up.
We know what's up. The bees have been talking to him.
Yeah.
So he dives into this story about these two sculptors, these artists who are very close and like brothers. We have Kalos, which means handsome or fair, and then we have Musides, which means son of the muses. So they got these baller names.
Yeah, right off the bat too. So I'm reading, and I'm like, these fucking names. It's just like, here we go again. And there was words that were used, and I was like, I have to pull out Google and reference these words a couple times. It happens sometimes with me, And I was just like, here we go. And in my head, I'm like, every time I go over to the name, and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, a couple times I was like, "Is that?" I almost said it's Kratos. No, not Kratos. Talos.
Yeah.
And I did look it up myself because I honestly don't remember what a few of these are. Just like, oh,
And I was like,
I'm just gonna wing it.
Helios? I'm like, no.
Yeah, so you got these two guys, literally like the best, right? They've got these amazing abilities. They're well known to be the most well talented in the area. And although they're both in the same profession, they don't harbor any like artistic jealousy, right? They're not like, hey, this is we're just doing what we do. I make good stuff, you make good stuff. Let's just make good stuff and be friends.
Yeah, right.
But although they are very close with each other, it's described that they have like these two very different natures about them, right?
Yes.
So you got Mucides, who is basically living for the city. I don't know.
Yeah,
and,
it's good.
And then you got Kalos, who preferred to meditate alone in his olive grove, even outside the view of his servants.
Yeah.
And we get this quote, which I really liked.
Idle folk indeed said that Kalos conversed with the spirits of the grove, and that his statues were but images of the fauns and dryads he met there. For he patterned his work after no living model.
So yeah, this kind of reminded me of a previous story. Did it remind you of something previous?
Yeah, thinking about it, I'm gonna say the Tomb, which was, our first one we covered, my first dive in here. But yeah, the having a hand in the other realm to kind of influence one's behavior, like having an idea of maybe talking to someone or seeing something in maybe the future or a different dimension, or just having a connection with something outside the realm of the living, or where everyone else is kind of like, this guy's crazy,
right?
Like, but people talk about it like, oh man, we got to get this guy out of here because he's losing his mind.
Yeah, it also I think we've definitely come across this already, and as far as we come, that it's like you've got the Lovecraft stand-in a little bit, where it's like, okay, this guy is definitely he has more than a foot in previous centuries. He's living in another time, kind of thing going on. And then, like I said, and then Mucides is like, just he's of the now. He's got his finger on the pulse of the city. He's out there every night. Whatever he's doing at night. Doing his thing. So two artists, two very good friends, but they couldn't be more different in their, I guess their inspiration, lifestyle, and then also their method of inspiration, right?
Okay, yeah.
Mucides is definitely waking up at 3 p.m. After his night of,
debauchery. He's to the sound of chisels. He's like, must you start so early?
Is that why this sculpture took 10 years? So because these two guys are so famous, it comes at no surprise that they get a commission from the quote tyrant of Syracuse. Okay. He's obviously the king over in Syracuse. Yeah. And he wants to give them like the commission of all commissions, right? Yeah. He wants them to make this gigantic statue of Tyche. Now, she was kind of like the goddess of luck, kind of. She, like you would have a, I was just looking this up. You would erect a statue of this goddess if you wanted luck in your city specifically. Was kind of a thing.
All right.
So,
all right.
Yeah. I mean, it had to have it. So
lots of laundromats around here have trinkets like that are supposed to bring fortune to your laundromat. It's
right. Does this one wait? Is this a waving cat of their time?
Yes, there's a lot of those, but there's also ones that I'm like, oh, that's surprisingly Asian.
Right.
So,
right.
Oh, okay.
You never know what you're gonna get. Hey, if it works, it works, right?
Right.
So the tyrant of Syracuse comes up with this idea that, okay, these two guys are so close that I'm going to give them both a commission, right?
Yeah.
And because they're so close and such good friends, they're going to work together. They're going to be like, hey, let's work, and they're going to help each other out. Kind of like, if they get to a point where like, I can't figure this part out. I was like, hey, how's this look? They're constantly going to be playing off of each other. And the better of the two will be chosen as the winner. And they even say, I like this quote, that it's going to the finished product is going to quote eclipse even the dreams of poets.
right. So I mean, at this point it's basically like Halloween Wars, Greek style.
Yes, but with something good at the end.
Yes, right. So
Not
you put,
mush.
Yeah, right. You put together, two of these people that are renowned in their field.
Right.
And it's like, whatever, Greek philosopher comes and it's like, this week I want,
Yeah.
And they have to like go together and yeah.
Yeah. It'd be like if you put like Da Vinci and Michelangelo together and we're like, look, guys, here's the stipulations, but they were friends to begin with. And then they were just, they would come out like, this guy's like, look, I know what I'm doing here. These two together are going to create this amazing thing. And maybe it'll create sort of a natural kind of, competition between them, but nothing that's going to get too crazy.
Yeah. Like Da Vinci's doing his thing. He's like making all the best stuff. And then Michelangelo's got his nunchucks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He sculpts with the nunchucks. That's
right.
I mean,
that's who you obviously were talking about when you said Michelangelo. That's
obviously. Is there anybody else?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
All right.
Yeah, orange headband.
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Make sure we're clear.
Did Ninja Turtle jokes ever get old? I don't think so.
Cowabunga. No way.
Right. So they obviously accept this challenge with joy, and they immediately set about it. And they're, like he surmised, they're sculpting in each other's view only. Not even the slaves can see what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, this is sculpting time. Get away from me. Except for when I need anything. Jerks.
One holds out a pinky ring with like, a stone is like, huh.
Pushes it into his face.
Yeah. Do you like that? More wine.
So time goes on. They continue their nightly routines. Eucides goes out at night, and then you have Kalos who does his weirdness.
Yeah,
I imagine him wandering around the maze at the Overlook kind of thing.
Yeah,
because some weird shit was going on in there.
He's just cold. He's just cold for no reason. It's not even snowing.
But he's like communing with weird spirits out there.
Yeah.
Or he's just staring with the Jack Nicholson face. But Eucides, when he's out at night, the town folk notice that he has this sullen look as of late. And it's kind of been going on for months. No one can figure it out. It's like, look, man, you just got like the commission of all commissions. It's like, you're set, dude. Once you finish this, you should be honored to be doing this. How could you possibly be pissed about anything or sullen or anything? So people just can't figure it out.
Yeah, they're like, what's up, man?
Yeah,
what's up with you, bro?
But then suddenly Kalos becomes ill. Right?
Yeah.
And then we get this quote.
Then one day, Eucides spoke of the illness of Kalos, after which none marveled again at his sadness, since the sculptor's attachment was known to be deep and sacred. Subsequently, many went to visit Kalos, and indeed noticed the pallor of his face. But there was about him a happy serenity which made his glance more magical than the glance of Eucides, who was clearly distracted with anxiety, and who pushed aside all the slaves in his eagerness to feed and wait on his friend with his own hands. Hidden behind heavy curtains stood the two unfinished figures of Tai Chi, little touched of late by the sick man and his faithful attendant.
Right. So he gets sick, and it's it's kind of sudden, and it's also kind of right here, I think there's a little thing to be suspicious about that. He's like, no, I got it. He's like, I'll take care of his stuff. I got it. Okay, all right. Right, Kalos just mysteriously now just becomes more and more sick. The doctors don't know what to do. They've been treating him, and hey, his best friend's helping out. They just don't know what's going on with this guy. They really can't
get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, they're really not sure what's going on here. So Kalos desires to be carried often to the grove that he loves. Like he's like, hey, bring me over there and just leave me. Just leave me alone. I just want to be in there. It's almost like he knows he's close to death or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's like, he's communing with this other side. Like they already kind of have this idea about him. And then Eucides, his boy, gets kind of pissed.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey man,
he's like, why you want to be with the other side? You don't want to be with your homeboy?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we're homies, dog. Like, you know,
That's exactly
these
what
are
he
quotes.
said.
Yeah.
These are
quotes.
Yeah. We saw an original draft. Lovecraft was like, dog.
Yeah.
Nah, they're not ready for that yet.
Yeah. He's like, but your great grandkids are gonna love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's your cousin Marvin Berry. Why did he tell his cousin his last name? I know it has to work for the scene.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So we know we're getting to the end here. Looking at Kalos, and Musides sees this as well. So he promises, he's like, man, I'm going to sculpt you the Tomb of Tombs. You know, I'm going to make you this amazing thing. It's going to speak to your ability. It's going to show off my ability. And
it's going to keep beer cold.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be a monument to the ages. Like everyone's going to know. And he's like, okay, but all I really want you to do is to, when you bury me, put these 2 certain twigs of olive branch near my head.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, all right. I'm still going to sculpt it though, because
yeah, because I'm the man,
right? Yep. And then fast forward a few more nights, and sitting alone in the darkness of the olive grove, Kalos dies. Yep.
Womp womp.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, we saw this coming. So Musides goes ahead and carves this incredible tomb for Kalos, and then does as he asks and plants these olive branches near his head. So it's like, okay, weirdness has happened, and my best friend is dead. And then after he gets over this, that initial grief, after the death, I mean, they don't say how much time, but then he like throws himself into the work of trying to complete this statue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he's going at it, and but every night, instead of going out to the city again, now his evenings are spent besides the tomb of his friend. And he notices that a young olive tree has already sprung up, like faster than it like rightfully should have, right?
Yes.
And then the form of it already, as it comes out, people are already saying like, oh, this is kind of strange, and it's also kind of weird. Look at the way that it's, the form of it. Yeah. And this pisses, I don't know if it pisses him off, but Musides is like, this is interesting, but also gross, because it's almost like it's a message, or, someone reaching beyond the grave to, I don't know, tell people something.
Yeah. Yeah. Magical speed of plant growth is a sure sign from the other side that yeah,
you done fucked up, so you
yep, I was right there.
So then again, we fast forward 3 more years, and Musides has completed this statue of Tyche, and apparently it's amazing, it's huge, it's incredible, and he goes ahead and he sends word to the Tyrant of Syracuse that it's ready to be taken away.
Yes.
And so we got 3 years down the road, and now by this time, the tree by the tomb is like incredible. It's huge. It's bigger than any trees around it. And strangely, one of the branches, a very, very big, heavy branch, has snaked its way over to the apartment area of where Musides, lives and works.
Yeah.
And lots of people come by because he's this famous sculptor. And they remark at the tree, and Musides is alone a lot now, so like having people come by and see him, he really appreciates that.
Yeah, he's like, the last guy that lived here I killed, so so thanks for even coming,
right. But the tree kind of hangs over all of it, right? Mm-hmm. So then we get this next quote:
"The bleak mountain wind, sighing through the olive grove and the tomb tree, had an uncanny way of forming vaguely articulate sounds."
So the tree's talking.
Yeah. Almost like the tree was forming vocal cords so the wind could pass through it.
Yes.
For it to vocalize.
I don't know why, but I imagine those creepy ass trees that used to be in McDonald's playgrounds. Do you remember those?
Yeah. The one, they just got rid of it. It used
they're
to
all gone. Yeah.
Still be there. Like, even till last year, because they just finally redid this one. Yeah, on Street Road.
Yeah.
They would just look at you and the drive through, and you'd be like,
yeah,
pull up, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm tired of this.
It's that kind of thing. Like they come and visit them. They're like, hey, what's up with that tree out there? He's like, what do you mean? And it's literally just staring right at them.
Me, I'm the this one.
So we've got the stage set, right? We got this ominous tree hanging over this area. It's supernaturally, grown to these like epic proportions. The commission's done. He's ready. Musides is there, and he's ready to have these guys come pick the stuff up. He's ready to bask in the glory. So we cut to the night when the tyrant's emissaries arrive to take the statue away for the next morning, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So that night, the sky was dark the evening that they show up. Right. So there's definitely this approaching storm, very ominous kind of thing. They're welcomed into the city. Everyone knows, these are the tyrant's guys. Like it doesn't get a name. It's just the tyrant of Syracuse.
Yes.
They're welcomed to the city, and as they're there to stay overnight because they're going to take the statue the next morning. As the night goes on, this violent like storm of wind breaks over the crest of the mountain that they're on, and it's crazy, shakes everything. They're praying to whatever gods they can come up with. I think even says it like they pray to these very, very specific gods. And the
next day, all 7 people on Dyatlov's pet. Oh, I'm sorry, something different. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was something different. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The eyeballs were missing. And
yeah. Sorry. My bad, guys.
Hey, it's similar, right?
Yeah, right.
But as they're weathering the storm, the townsfolk are talking about how what a great guy Musides is, and that he's just heavy with grief for his friend, and that he really he put in a lot of work for this, and he deserves everything. He's gonna
such fine work, fine work. What a guy, such a great artist,
a true mensch.
Yeah, real menschers. Wow. Yeah.
So then the next morning comes, right?
That it does.
And it does. And we get this quote.
In the sunshine of the morning, the proxenoi led the tyrant's messengers up the slope to the abode of the sculptor. But the night wind had done strange things. Slaves' cries ascended from a scene of desolation, and no more amidst the olive grove rose the gleaming colonnades of that vast hall wherein Musides had dreamed and toiled. Lone and shaken mourned the humble courts and the lower walls, for upon the sumptuous greater peristyle had fallen squarely the heavy overhanging bough of the strange new tree, reducing the stately poem in marble with odd completeness to a mound of unsightly ruins. Strangers and Tegeans stood aghast, looking from the wreckage to the great sinister tree whose aspect was so weirdly human and whose roots reached so queerly into the sculptured sepulchre of Callus. And their fear and dismay increased when they searched the fallen apartment. For of the gentle Musides and of the marvelously fashioned image of Tai Chi, no trace could be discovered. Amidst such stupendous ruin, only chaos dwelt, and the representatives of 2 cities left disappointed. Syracusans that they had no statue to bear home, Tegeans that they had no artist to crown. However, the Syracusans obtained after a while a very splendid statue in Athens, and the Tegeans consoled themselves by erecting in the agora a marble temple commemorating the gifts, virtues, and brotherly piety of Musides.
Okay, so all hell broke loose. So some kind of storm came through, and wouldn't you know it, that precariously angled branch just happens to fall on Musides' apartment.
Just smushes it.
Smushes it. But that's in rubble, but he's missing, and so is this giant statue. Right? Amen. Supernatural. I don't know.
Pan was out there.
It's possible.
He was like, take it all. I want it all.
Get this out of here.
No luck for this town. Get it the fuck. I want to go down the middle of the night. I want to piss on the ashes.
Yeah. So obviously there was some kind of supernatural kind of revenge that occurred here. And we get this final quote here that kind of wraps it up nicely, I think. We get, but the olive grove still stands, as does the tree growing out of the tomb of Kalos. And the old beekeeper told me that sometimes the boughs whisper to one another in the night wind, saying over and over, I know. That's the end of the story.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm going to be quite honest. Not one of my favorites.
No, it's definitely a strange story. It's definitely squarely in he's trying to do his ancient history stuff, but then once again, it's more of this Lord Dunsany type.
Yeah, Lord Dunsany rears his ugly head.
He's going to be around for just a little bit longer. But so here's the question I got to ask you here. When you were reading this, so I remember reading this a long time ago, and then rereading it again and just reading about it again. According to Lovecraft, did you get in your initial reading that the guy Kalos was poisoning? Musides was poisoning Kalos?
No. And so here's what I had to do, to be quite honest. Yeah. So I'm reading it, right? Yeah. And a lot of it with the detail and stuff, I kept going, what? I kept going, what? Like what? Yeah. And I'm like, wait, so what happened? Yeah. So I did a little digging myself, and I was like
the John C. Reilly with the glasses. He's like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, hold on. So I did a little research, and I was like, yeah, because like he was gleeful when he first saw him, but then he's sullen, and then he feels real bad. So I'm like, okay. And then someone was like, yeah, well, even apparently at one point Lovecraft said that he was poisoning him down the road.
Yeah, so there is a well-known essay by Lovecraft called "In Defense of Dagon," and this was after he put together an essay which was in some of the pulps and in some of the correspondence. Folks were kind of like, shooting him down, like, hey, this shouldn't be like this, and we don't like that you did this and this. So he put together this whole essay to calm his haters, and he happened, and we'll go into that at some point, but he mentioned specifically this story that he was poisoning the other guy. Now, knowing that now, things do make sense,
right?
But it's not really. I don't know if it's very well communicated in the writing.
No, that was one thing that I. Especially after, I was like, oh, okay. I did that. I was like, all right. And I was like, weird details elsewhere.
Yeah. Not
too much of like undertones of what's really going on, which I understand. Like that's kind of his thing. But a lot of times too, like I'm not an idiot. I can like piece things together, but in this one I was like, what is this guy talking about?
Right. I mean, I don't think it's being too overly critical to say, you have hits and you have misses, and this was a miss.
Right.
I think he was kind of reveling in his ancient, history, ancient history, and the way that he likes to like revel in the description of things, and he likes putting himself in the in this idealized area of time where it's like, oh, these two guys are competing during this the idealized ancient Greek period where they're like, oh, just two sculptors that live as sculptors. It takes years to get it done. And if you go back and you have that knowledge afterwards, knowing that, okay, he was poisoning him, then it makes sense to the point where he's like, oh, he was, Musides was very sullen for a few months, and you could tell that was his skill. What I take from that as, no, I think it was that they worked together for a bunch of months, and I think he realized that Kalos was the superior sculptor because they were working together so much.
Right.
Because he's the one getting inspiration from the other side, not going out every night and doing blow off a hooker's ass or whatever they do.
He's cleaning. He's usually cleaning up the work type deal. He's smoothing the edges kind of stuff.
Right. And I personally, that's what I think happened there. Like they worked together so much for months, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm really not really
the stud
adding too much to this." Exactly. And I think he's like, you know what? I'm gonna poison this motherfucker. It's like, damn, dude. So man. Yeah. So I think he comes to that idea that he's going to poison him, and he poisons him slowly. And they give you that detail where it's like, okay, oh well, no, I got it. This is food. I got it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in there to suggest that he's poisoning him. There's no like, you know what I mean? Like it really is kind of like, as far as trying to make that like a, what happened here. Like Lovecraft kind of missed here. He didn't give us that detail. Like, have like him. Sometimes, when Musides was out at night, he met with an apothecary that was notorious for giving out hemlock or something.
Yeah, right.
Something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it was like I was saying, there was weird details elsewhere, and then like that, they only mentioned the like him handling the food like once. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a little like, hey, it wasn't even like a nod. It was just like, I got it. I'm his boy.
Yeah.
We live here. He's comfortable with me. He doesn't need other people. Like,
right.
It was just like he just brought him his stuff. That was it.
Yeah.
Also, look at this, look, over here.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I don't think it's. I don't feel too bad being too harsh on this story, because Lovecraft himself in a letter from 1936 feels the same way. That it was not. It was only good for stacking paper, basically, as he said. So,
all right, man.
Oh yeah, he's. Wait till we hear about his other opinions of his own work. But
I mean, I get it, because like I'll be working on a song or something, and I'd be like, I might as well just like fart it in the mic, like I'll yell at myself, like bullshit, and like this is never gonna work. Right,
but I mean, these are mechanics that we're going to see we've seen in previous stories, and we're going to see in other ones. You have that artist that has his 1 foot in the other world and 1 foot in the real world, and I think that he's definitely playing with that, and the idea of supernatural consequences for earthly crimes. So, and I think he's at this point just trying it out, and I definitely think that this is also in that I think this is in the Lord Dunsany kind of thing, where he's like he's still getting into that flowery stuff, but I think he's searching for what are these threats? I think he's definitely dealing with what are these threats from the other side that can pose them problems to people in the real world. So it's it's definitely not his best, and I don't know if it's his worst, because I know of other ones that are coming up that I'm just like, oof. But there's not too many stinkers.
Yeah, honestly, my whole end statement on it is, from the other stories that I read, this one drew me in, I have to say the least. Even though, what was my least favorite? I can't remember right now. But this one kind of it didn't draw me in. I wasn't like enthralled. Like all the other ones, like I was like, oh, what do we got? This one I was kind of just reading, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't there. And I was just like, all right, I was just like, what's the twist? Like I was doing that, like, where are we going? But no, fair assessment. And I think that it's, I think a lot of people who have read the story definitely share your opinion. It's, it's still early Lovecraft. This is 1920, and he's, just still trying some of these things out. And I think that this shows his love for ancient culture, specifically ancient Greece. And, I think he was just trying to spin, an interesting story that still maintains some kind of supernatural something. Right. And it's, unfortunately, it is a miss, but hey, I know myself for my artistic endeavors that sometimes you have to get through like 3 bad sculptures before you get to that good sculpture. And this is just one of those things, man. There has to be failures in the artistic process. I just think this is one of them, but it's part of the process. Yeah. It and I'm a fan of supernatural revenge stories. I love them, and it wasn't one of my favorites. And I think, like we were saying, I mean, my last thing I'm going to say on this, basically. Yeah, he once again, he focused certain details on certain things and didn't leave us much of a trail to kind of go back and be like, oh, that's where he was going. Yeah. Which is in his other stuff that I've read so far. Like you kind of get an idea of where we're, headed or why things happened, but it was like, this happened. Gotcha. At the end there. Like, okay. All right. Yep. Just wasn't well plotted out. And you know what? That's okay, because he gets to some amazing places coming up. Right. All right, well, that's the tree, and I think I think we said it all considering this one. But hey, the next one coming up, we have the Cats of Ulthar, and that's another supernatural revenge story, but it is awesome. Good, thank God. Yes, thank Cthulhu. Exactly. All right, folks. Well, for this episode of Learning Lovecraft, I've been Jason McKittrick. And I've been Ken James.
and we'll see you on the other side of sleep.